Okay, hello everybody, I'm Will.
And I'm Kristen.
So I'm watching RuPaul's Drag Race All-Stars 6, Episode 4, Halftime Show. Woo! Disclaimer, we're relatively new to Drag Race. We've seen about 6 seasons, so we're right in the middle. These are our opinions. They are not endorsed by Paramount Plus or WoW or that dude in the third comment in the Reddit thing. We're just watching a show that we like to talk about.
Also, what's the thing that you saw? We're just like, I don't mean anything to you.
Oh, so. Just a reminder. I mean absolutely nothing to you.
Keep that in mind.
I am enjoying this. I am glad that we did this.
Yeah.
And I'm glad it's good. From what I'm hearing, it's a particularly good season.
Okay.
I don't watch a lot of like videos of people. Like I don't watch a lot of personalities because it's like I'm not trying to just absorb what they say. But every so often I will check in with people who cover stuff. And one of the YouTube channels that I have watched is Mira Mangle and Scarlet Cyanide. Okay. And they filled in a few blanks. And they were talking about this season. One of the things that they think is making it so interesting is the fact that when they announced the cast, a lot of people responded with kind of like a, well, where are the stars? Like, where are the all-stars? And Mira was like, but it seems what it's actually been is a season of wild cards.
Which I like. I think that
there's no clear front runner.
I think that makes it fun.
So it's also fun watching the level of talent and execution is obviously heightened.
Yeah.
This was an interesting challenge and runway. The halftime show, it felt ambitious.
Yeah.
And it was.
But it was executed almost flawlessly somehow.
Because it took me a minute. It took me to them performing to realize where I'm like, there are 3 levels to this performance. One of which, to my understanding, is entirely out of the Queen's control. Yeah. Which is the interpretation of the RuPaul material by way of another superstar. Yeah. To my understanding, they weren't involved in that.
I don't think they were recording that. It didn't sound like any of them, and I think they actually said that as well.
Well, because we watched them listen to it for what seems to be the first time.
Yeah.
So that was fascinating to me, that so much that could make or break a performance was completely out of their hands.
Yeah.
But they then had to bring a look and the actual performance itself. We had a conversation about male drag, which is something that we find fascinating a little bit. Based on what we've seen, we've watched season 7, and there's a big conversation about Kennedy Davenport doing Little Richard as to whether or not that counts as drag or not. And
it was amazing.
I think it does.
Because you're still doing a character. And I guess you could then, at some point, you could be like, well, what makes that different than acting? But I think it's like, it's still like doing an impression of a larger than life person. I
understand the slippery slope. Like, I understand the weird precedent it sets, but I feel like if you're wearing a wig and makeup, it's kind of a form of drag. And especially it's like, if a drag queen is doing it, then it's drag.
Yeah. Well, it's like the other day when I was like, well, nobody would dress up like Joe Biden. You know what I mean? Like, that's not like a thing. That's just a costume party at that point. That's like a whole.
But I was like Prince, Little Richard, Steven Tyler, Ozzy Osbourne. I'm like, these are David Bowie and
Freddie Mercury.
Yeah. Even that, and that was
John.
Elton John or Liberace more so. Freddie Mercury is a little bit dodgier because he's so butch.
He was.
So it would depend on who was doing it. And I don't know. Regardless, I find it fascinating. Yeah. And I was glad that they kind of went there with this. And especially brilliant, again, 3 ways over. There's a lot of 3 ways over in this. To have Kylie Sonique play Steven Tyler. Because the politics of it was fascinating. Yeah. Her performance and execution was excellent. It was just good casting. Like when they said it, I was like, oh my God, that actually just sort of works.
Well, because you even told me about it before we watched it. And I was just like, oh yeah. I was like, she does have a bigger mouth than I think I realized. And then it just was like so well done. Like she just did so well at it. And I think my favorite part of the whole thing though is Scarlett asked if this was her first time as a drag king. And she was like, yeah, it is. And Scarlett was like, well, did you have like a name picked out for your like for that persona? And she said Oliver Clothes Off. And I was like, that is
you love the puns.
Next
Yeah,
level.
you love the puns.
That's why Sharon Needles is like my favorite drag name.
So we missed the trade conversation. They had the trade conversation in like episode 2, and we never commented on it. And in the show, they were even talking amongst themselves as to not understanding or like not being on the same page as to what trade was.
Yeah.
And my understanding of trade was, I thought it was kind of synonymous with on the down low. I thought that it was a masculine presenting predominantly like a hetero, like a, bi-curious.
Okay,
There you go. I was like, what's the word I'm looking for? A man who maybe partakes in the love with we dare not speak its name on the down low or sort of I always thought that there was an element of servicing involved, like, you know, the dude who will let like a guy go down on him but isn't really interested in more than that. That's always what I understood trade to be. But
it seems now like it's just like, who's the hottest boy?
Which is, I mean, that's a thing on its own. And they had this like whole up in the air conversation, not really being able to figure out who it was, as if it weren't obvious that it was Trinity.
Oh, I was going to disagree.
I think the Trinity is the tradiest of the season. Scarlett's so pretty, even as a boy.
Yeah, but I would say there's a few more miles on Scarlett's face as a boy. So it's like, it's getting more into, I mean, just, he starts talking and you're like, no. But there's like getting to be more of a rugged quality to the face.
And frankly, I mean, I was a fan of Akira's confessional look this season with the blue.
I was gonna say, Akira, I think, is very handsome.
So anyways.
There's like, Trinity's face is a little too long for my personal...
I just think he looks regardless.
Yeah.
There was a debate about it between Trinity, Akira, and Raja.
Yeah.
I really appreciated that scene, and I appreciated the sisterhood between the strippers. They really care about each other's color blending.
It was nice. They were doing good.
Sonique was helping Raja with her trimming.
Well, and then I think Jan was helping Ginger with the highlight, which was nice too.
But I like how I think Trinity's really come into this. I'm getting a different appreciation for her. And it's what I suspected when I was watching season 6. And I do like that after she had her little like meltdown last week, that in the talking head, she was like, I'm a sensitive soul.
Yeah.
Because the acknowledgement of it kind of does a lot to get us back on her side.
Yeah. It takes the heat off the moment.
But I also appreciate when the queen, 'cause there's a lot of talk on this show about things like it's black or white, 1 or 0, all or nothing, spoiler alert, with like Yara going home. She was really defeated in a way that I was sort of like, I mean, I understand wanting to win.
Sure.
But they talk about it like it means they've been invalidated.
Yeah.
And that's not what's happening.
Well, so they don't always. Yara definitely was.
Some of them do. But, and so it's so nice, or even the stuff with Silky, where it's like, I was a little bit concerned that after kind of falling in love with Silky, her takeaway seemed to be, I need to go back to what I was doing before.
Yeah.
And I was like, you can take from both piles and create a new, you know what I mean? Like,
there's not just 2 options. There's a whole wealth of pathways.
And so I do like seeing the growth. And I think this is why something like All Stars is so interesting to fans, and especially the fans that have been there the whole time. Because, you know, we do know some of these people, so it's there. But I loved seeing Trinity being like, the last time I didn't take this opportunity to make friends.
Yeah, that was so nice. That was really, and then it was like really, I mean, it honestly could have had like a Lifetime movie filter over it. Just the 3 of them like, like behind the scenes. So cute while they were doing their makeup. I loved it.
Because a lot of times, you know, these people are young. They're in a competition. It is cutthroat. They're defensive. Like a lot of our issues watching the show, and especially with the drama, is how frequently some of the negativity comes from a place of hurt or insecurity or vulnerability. And so I'm just really enjoying seeing Trinity with a few more years on her.
Yeah.
And she really, okay, I agree with, we're jumping around, but I'm going where the conversation takes me. I agree with the win. I agree with Jan's win.
Yeah.
I'm glad Jan got it.
I think, but also
there's a case to be made.
I sort of feel like it was like 30% a pity win for Jan, just because it's like, you need it finally and you did so good. But like Trinity's Beyonce was unreal.
Yes, and it was a long time coming, to the point where Bianca Del Rio like ate her words on Twitter last night. You know what I mean?
Okay.
And they've like retweeted it, and it's been a lot of fun and stuff like that. And so had Trinity not already won, I would be absolutely.
Sure. But because also Jan fucking turned it out with the runway look too.
And that's what I was gonna say. Is
I really was like, again, like they said on the judges panel, the color was really beautiful, but it was just sort of like a pageant dress.
I've seen that dress a million times.
And Jan went like whole sepia tone, get your old timey West photo taken.
Annie, get your gun.
Yeah.
So the performances. I like Ginger. This is so tricky because they're all good is the thing. I really like her talking heads. And the Fergie, that was rough because I didn't see Fergie anywhere in her performance.
Well, it's exactly what Jamal said at the end, is like, Fergie doesn't have a thing. Like kind of everybody else that they picked does.
And furthermore, what she does have, Ginger didn't do. Like, I didn't understand the wig.
Sure.
I've never known Fergie to have big hair.
Yeah.
And it, like, granted, I mean, we don't know Madonna to have big hair, but it matched the rest of what Eureka was doing. Because I wondered if the big hair was part of being, one of the heavy queens, that it helps you with your proportions.
Out, yeah.
But it didn't really do much for me. And I don't know how much of that was Ginger. Loved her runway look.
Yeah.
Especially, I mean this as a compliment. It's going to sound shady. All tea, all shade. My favorite part about it is because it looked so cheap.
Oh, it kind of
The fabric looked cheap. They all looked like toys from the 80s.
I see that.
Like, especially Scarlett.
Yeah.
Look, do you remember those cupcakes that unfolded into princesses?
Mm-hmm. Scarlett's might have weirdly been my favorite. It was like,
is it just because we like her so much, or what? Was it a je ne sais quoi? Like what?
So, well, for the dress, I think it's because it was kind of avant-garde and like asymmetrical, and then it was a really odd color choice. It was like a beige-ish bronze color. I don't know. And then she had the jewels on her lips. It all worked for me.
And Rue, the House of LeBeige, which we get now because we watched Paris is Burning.
We did. No, I really, really quite liked that. I think her and Jan and Akira's were my favorite runway looks.
Kylie Sonique.
Flower, though. Well, yeah, that's very you and Rachel, but my favorites were those three.
Okay. So I'm sticking to in order because that's how I wrote my notes, but I loved Eureka's Madonna.
Yeah.
And I think Eureka's a dark horse for me, or like an underdog. I think that easily 40% of the success of the Madonna was whoever was doing the lip sync.
Yeah.
I have sinned on the dance floor, all over it. It's slippery because of my sin.
It was so funny. The Madonna-isms, the slight lisp, I have sinned all over the dance floor, and the amen, and just the utter oozing pretension like that Madonna brings to this. Raja's Diana Ross was fantastic.
Those pants under that dress. Oh my God.
So good.
Oh my God.
The wig, the colors, the lip sync was doing a lot of favors for the performance.
The vocals,
we're very outspoken about Scarlett being our girl. Her Katy Perry was just fine. She's not much of a performer, although she didn't embarrass herself by any stretch.
Well, and Katy Perry's also not a huge dancer, so it was like a good one for Scarlett to pick.
We got the shimmy.
Yeah.
If you're going to get one thing with Scarlett.
Also, I can't overstate how hilarious it was to just watch Scarlett stone face have a conversation as the left shark backstage. It was because she literally just was like, with the shark fins.
I love this for her because, as I said before, I don't think there's any reality where she's winning this, but I think getting another chance to really show what she can do is cementing her status. And like, I think it's going to move her to an upper echelon.
Yeah.
Because we've talked about, you don't always have to win to be successful.
Because I also think it's giving a better opportunity to get more personality from Scarlett as well. Because like, I liked her enough on her season, but there was not a lot of there for me. You know what I mean? Like, it was very like, I'm pretty and that's the only thing.
Well, I think she was performing a bit.
Yeah.
And
that's the thing.
It was rubbing the other queens the wrong way, in a way that she seems to have kind of been like, well, because I think that's her.
Yeah.
But I think she's being more thoughtful. Well, they're all being more thoughtful this time.
It seems more lived in, and it seems more true to like a human person.
Well, and like she's just really, they're all really getting a chance to actually bring their A game in a way that when they're on their initial seasons, it's like things are being like thrown at them.
Yeah, 100%.
Pandora's another one that I like a lot. Again, I don't really think that there's any scenario where she's winning, but she feels tried and true.
Oh yeah.
And I get a kick out of the confessionals, out of the performances.
The Carol Channing was hilarious.
Although the dress, the frills left something to be desired, especially in comparison to the other girls.
Well, so for me, the weakest of the runway was Pandora and Yara, because like Pandora's just looked a little bit cheap and like slapdash and put together, and then Yara did not have any frills anywhere. Frills and fringe are not the same.
Yeah, I didn't understand it at all, because my original note was, I was like, well, there's some fringe, but I was like, that is not frills. But then she acknowledged, she said, for me, frills means Gone with the Wind. I'm a windmill.
Yeah.
And I've seen Gone with the Wind, but there's like a windmill catches on fire?
No, never. Atlanta catches on fire.
Yeah, so I'm like, are you thinking of Dracula? Like, what? Or Frankenstein? Like, I was like, what windmill are you? I don't know. I didn't understand it. And it just sort of, Yara just didn't connect with me.
No, same.
The like Shakira felt half.
The tits were so funny in episode 1, and then it's like, I've not reached that height with her again so far.
It just, and I mean, maybe it is sort of like a language barrier or something. She just sort of reminds me of the prima donna Carlotta.
These things do happen.
By way of Sofia Vergara, you know, like
the thing for me about her was she was also fighting with Jamal Sims in this episode.
It was odd.
Shakira would actually do this, and it's like, okay, but you've watched her perform, but he's the choreographer and he's trying to help you. I get it. I get the instinct. I wouldn't call it fighting, but it was sort of like, ooh. Yeah. And then she said, fuck you a lot at the end. And I was like, I couldn't, Rue was laughing like it was a joke. And I was like, I don't think so.
I mean, I think both, but a lot of people are talking about Akira being in the bottom again. And the prince was fun, but I kind of got what the judges were saying.
I kind of got it, but I thought it was more serviceable than the bottom two. I thought it didn't deserve the bottom, in my opinion. Plus, her runway look was so good.
It was
so good.
It was very, because I said it was like, again, those cupcakes that turn into dolls, but also like ice capades or like Cypress Gardens, like all that stuff. It was very, I mean, Michelle even said, this is what we mean when we say elevated drag. And like, it was kind of like the end of Batman and Robin with Poison Ivy.
Well, it also had like two reveals, because it was all around her at first, and then it came down into like a Elizabethan collar, and then it went all the way down into a skirt.
I don't know, because I don't know who would then be in the bottom, because I guess for me it would be Ginger or I guess Scarlett. And again, I'm never going to voluntarily put her in the bottom unless she especially biffs something.
Because I would have said Ginger or Pandora. Because the Carol Channing was great.
She had done it before.
Was not very good. Yeah.
And we already talked a little bit about Kylie Sonique. The Steven Tyler was so good.
So good.
Her, Rachel and I were dying for her like jellyfish dress.
It was very good.
And the tits.
Yeah.
Oh my God, the tits. It was so good. I have been over like the big Pamela Anderson 90s tits. Like, I'm like, whatever. And I'm ready for a comeback.
Oh, God.
It's not for everybody.
No.
But for the people it's for, it is for them.
Really
it was
for
so
them.
good. The wig, the makeup,
Yeah.
I was obsessed with her in that dress. And I want a doll. I want a doll of her in that dress.
I want you to know I'm not saying I didn't like it.
I know.
I just like my top 3 were the top 3 that I picked.
Jan, the episode really kind of like, it's not hung her out to dry, but we were unsure
Yeah.
if she was going to pull this off.
Yeah.
And she really did.
The Gaga.
The Gaga was so good.
Well, she did all the things. And see, especially when they were first giving her critiques, I thought they were going to ding her for the precision. Where I thought it was going to go the way where it was like, you were so precise, everything was so precise, and it really sucked the life out of it.
No, she
and
was
I
chaotic.
Was like, no, but it was like
yeah.
too good, yeah.
I think she relates too much to Gaga in that respect.
That checks.
You were so funny listening to her talk about how Gaga was her number 1 diva. You were just like, I have heard this story so many times.
There's not a single person that I've heard talk about Lady Gaga.
Millennial gay that hasn't said that
She
exact.
just changed my life, and I'm like, yeah, bitch, you are not alone. Like that, you're not special.
And then the runway. The runway was so good. It's obviously we've seen Showgirl, Saloon Girl before.
Sure.
But the interpretation of the ruffles with the Showgirl, and I said, I wrote this down before Carson Kressley said it. I was like, this is a color palette we do not see.
Yeah.
Everybody up there was in pastel.
But it was like burgundy
and like
silver
gunmetal
and
like,
black. Oh my god.
It was it was truly stunning.
It was great.
And that for me,
the hair and the flower on the hair.
That was what tipped to the hard win for her, because Trinity absolutely killed the Beyonce. It was so Rachel kind of gasped.
Yeah,
There was like
really
an
good.
audible
I mean, even her makeup was exactly
the moves, and I love that they interpreted Beyonce through End of Time, because that's my favorite Beyonce song, and it's a little bit of like a deep cut.
Yeah.
But as opposed to like Formation or something,
Mm-hmm.
but I love that. And again, I think that Trinity's actual runway was fine.
Yeah.
But it was fine.
The best thing about it was the color is the problem. Did we talk about Eureka, her little reveal too?
We didn't. We talked about her performance. We didn't talk about her runway. I loved it. It did feel unique. The pink chaps and all that. And I kind of liked that it was a little bit still Madonna adjacent.
Sure. I also liked that Michelle didn't say anything in the footage we saw, but she took her comment last week to heart where it was like, get the stuff away from your neck. 'Cause it's like, it's not helping your silhouette.
Mm-hmm.
And so she came out with it around her neck, and I was like, God damn it. And then she flung it to the ground, and I was like, ooh, that's where it is. Yeah.
That's really good. I didn't notice that. That was really good. So yeah, we had Jan as our winner. We had Akira and Yara as the bottom. Jessica Wilde was the lip sync assassin. We're not familiar with her, so we have nothing really to bring there. You know, I appreciated Jan's lip sync. I think is what was happening was she was interpreting the, you say I'm crazy, I got your crazy.
Yeah. She was doing her funny Jan thing.
And she was doing this robotic, crazed thing. But everyone was sort of like, why are you a robot?
Yeah.
And the robot part was resonating and not the crazed part. And so it just very Jan. It was excellent it was very technically proficient, but there was just something that didn't hit. And then we also got another really sweet Scarlett and Raja scene in Untucked that I can't believe when I was talking about shipping them last week that I didn't think to call them Scarlett O'Hara.
Yeah.
All right. Well, if you enjoyed that and enjoy us, you can follow, you can watch any of our videos and you can go back even further when we were just a podcast. It's mostly audio. It all links out from soimwatching.com. And if you want to watch us watch season 7 of Drag Race, we are currently doing that on the Patreon. I am going to get the first 2 episodes up hopefully tonight and then quickly after that. But we will be covering that on the Patreon, and you can join and donate and hip all that stuff. So yeah, do you have any?
Nope.
SoI'mWatching.com.
Yeah.
@SoI'mWatching.